When it comes to crochet hooks, there really is a lot out there. I'll just like to show you a few examples of what you can find. For example, the tulip hooks. These also come in beautiful cases. You also have, for example, the Addy hooks. Now this is an example of their ergonomic hooks. But you also have, for example, the Clover Amour hooks. These are my favorite hooks, the Clover hooks. But you also have, for example, these hooks. These are the Furls hooks. These are really nice if you have very large hands, because these are reasonably large hooks when it comes to their handles. Personally, I find them a bit heavy, but again, that's personal. But then, of course, you also have your more, let me call it, old-fashioned hooks. Maybe you remember these types of hooks. These were the ones that maybe your granny used to work with. So these are just plain metal, aluminium, or steel hooks. And this is just a small collection of what's out there. Now when it comes to hooks, it's not so much about what you like or what you don't like, but what works for you. You can think, okay, this is a beautiful hook. I mean, yes, it is. It's a really beautiful and fabulous hook to look at. But I actually don't like working with it because it's too heavy. So it's not so much about how you think the hooks look like, but how they feel in your hand and how you work with them. And for me, the Clover Amour hooks are the nicest hooks. They feel real balanced and they fit well in my hand. So I'd like to show you about how to hold your hook, but when it comes to what type of hook you use and which brand, that is very personal. And I suggest that you maybe try out a few hooks too. So buy one hook from a series and see how it feels, and then say, okay, do I like this type of hook? Then invest in the other ones from the series as well. Otherwise, go to another brand and see how that feels, because this really does take some time to figure out which brand of hook is your favorite. There are in essence two ways of holding your crochet hook when you work. You can hold it in the so-called thumb grip. That means you push your thumb against the hook, and as certain hooks have a bit of a flat part here, you can have your hook against that. Then you wrap your fingers around the hook. So you have it in this way, thumb grip. And then you steer your hook with your thumb. A second way to hold your hook is with the so-called pen grip or knife grip. And that's very similar to the way you would hold a pen when you write. So you would hold it in this way, and then you steer your hook much more with your index finger and your middle finger. So depending on how you steer your pen, you would steer your hook in the same way. Both ways are very common. There's no right and wrong here. It's what works for you. That's important. And what's also important is that whichever way you hold your hook, that you hold your hook relaxed, that your hand doesn't cramp. Because what some people do is they have their hook so tight, you can actually see the veins popping up on my hand. If you hold your hook this tight, you're going to get cramps in your hand. So hold your hook loose, very loose in your hand, that you don't get any cramps or any strain in your hand. That's really important. So the way I hold my hook, if I just show you, it's like this. So I have it and I steer it with my thumb. You can see I'm steering it with my thumb. My other fingers are just purely for balance. And this is how I hold my hook. Some people prefer the pen grip, so they would do it like this. And I'm actually a little dumb with this because I don't really work this way. This. And then you see I'm not really comfortable with this grip because I don't really do this a lot. Like so. See, I still somehow fall back on my thumb. So that really is what you're used to. What's important here is that you find a technique that works for you, and that your hand is relaxed, and that the hook feels balanced in your hand. And certain hooks fit better in certain hands because your hands might be large, they may be small. You might have certain issues with joints, for example, and then certain hooks just work better than others. What's important is that you find a hook and you find a grip that works for you, that you have no strain in your hands. That's most important.